Hi everybody, I hope everybody is having a great day. It is 8 a.m. on a Wednesday, and so far my week has been pretty good aside from a few drama that I'm probably going to get into soon with this video. But I just want to tell everybody that I really appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I appreciate the followers that I have gained in the past few months, because my old Twitter account was suspended. So the fact that I now have almost 1,100 followers in a span of like 6 months is amazing. And it just shows that no matter what, my words do reach out to people. People do care about what I have to say, and my words are making a difference. And that's the only thing that I care about, is making a difference and reaching out to people and improving people's lives. I don't just talk just to talk, or to get likes, or to get views, or to get shares, or any of that sort. I just want someone to listen to what I have to say, take it into their daily lives, to educate themselves and others, and to treat others better, and to dismantle anything that oppresses different people. And that's all I want, is to basically be nice and dismantle systematic oppression, which of course that's radical to a lot of people, but for me it's just something that's simple. Just treat everybody as you want to be treated. But since we cannot do that, we have to be radical and cuss people out. But the reason why I'm making this video, because I feel that this needs to be shared. I know people do story times a lot. I don't have a big studio. If I get my own apartment, then I'll create my own studio, but it doesn't look like I'm going to have an apartment soon, because I keep losing jobs because somebody doesn't like me. They didn't like that I didn't do everything that they said. They didn't feel comfortable around me. All that doesn't really make any sense, because when I first started working at one job, everybody was saying how nice I was and how they were grateful that I was there because they needed extra help. So it was obvious that people were not filling out their applications, or people were not hiring those that wanted this job. So the issue was more so of the hiring process than just it being understaffed, because people do send out applications, but people don't get to the applications because they are lazy. They are lazy. And this is something that I need to talk about, because so many people love to use the word lazy to describe those with actual disabilities, who have a mental illness, who are mentally ill, who are sick, of course. And when they cannot do everything that your able-bodied ass can do, then these people are lazy. But yeah, we have people who just do not want to do the interview process, who just do not want to look at applications. People aren't doing their jobs. Yet when you get somebody that's here to do their job, you want to fire them after 4 months just because they wouldn't come in at 7 o'clock when they were not supposed to be clocked in until 7:30, and they were coming in at 7:15 instead of 7 o'clock. But that's something I'm going to talk about later, because I have two situations that I really just did not appreciate when it came to my working there. But first and foremost, last year I applied to this job, and I don't want to say the name, but I'm pretty sure certain people can figure out where I worked at. It was at a child care center. They had a child care program. They had all types of programs for people, athletic programs. They had health programs, and this is a pretty known organization. I cannot say it for liability reasons, even though what I'm saying will be the truth. But I applied for this job back in January of last year, so this was in early 2018. Not even 14 days into the year, I sent out an application, and soon enough I get a call from this woman who tells me to come in on Wednesday for an interview. So I'm really excited, and I'm calling them back, and I'm like, hey, this is Kara, I just got your call and I would love to come in at Wednesday to meet you. You know, I'm really excited. So I'm thinking, yes, I just scored an interview. And I really wanted this job because as you know, I love children. I love working with children, especially those with disabilities, because growing up, I dealt with a lot of issues with teachers and classmates where I feel as if I didn't get enough support for my disability. And I talk about my disability a lot, but I have autism. I'm on the autism spectrum, and I feel anytime I tell people this, especially when it comes to work or if I'm in a school setting, I usually get this, "Oh, I didn't know." And it's kind of weird that when I tell people my autism, I either get, "Oh, I didn't know," or, "Oh, I thought there was something off about you." But most times I get, "I didn't know." And I feel like some people are lying and they're only pretending like I'm not that neurodivergent passing because they want me to do more work than I should. And these are typically people that already pile work onto me as if I'm able to do it on my own. So when I tell them, "Hey, I have health issues, I have medical problems, it's in my application, I have autism," they act so surprised, like, "Well, you don't seem like it." And I feel they say this so they can keep treating me a certain way without actually getting called out for ableism, because they can just tell HR, "Well, we didn't know that she had a disability and she seemed fine to me, so I just assumed." And I feel like that's what it is. And I don't want to assume everybody is like that, but I just feel like whenever someone tells me that I don't seem or look autistic or they didn't know, it's kind of like, well, you weren't supposed to know until I told you, because it's not something that you just disclose, because a lot of people are ignorant to autism. A lot of people are ableist. So no, I'm not going to just tell my job, "Hey, I have autism." No one just is going to go up to somebody and tell them what they have, But anyway, I feel like when I work with children, I try to work with children who are similar to me or who have a disability. So that can range from autism, ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, anxiety, depression, somebody who has Down syndrome, somebody who has a cognitive disorder. So they may not necessarily have what I have, but I try to work with people who have disabilities or who have a mental disorder or who have developmental disorders. And my goal is not to get them to assimilate like a lot of people want them to. My goal is to help them learn the way that they can and at the pace that they have. And I'm not trying to force them to do something that they don't want to do. And I feel a lot of people were annoyed because, well, that's just not how the rules are. And, you're not following the rules and you're not doing your job. And, our job is to do this and that. And I feel like, okay, but kids have different needs. We cannot always go by what the damn book says. And I feel like a lot of people were upset because I would say, well, this kid needs this. Fuck what the book says. This kid needs this. And it was like, well, no, like, this is basically how we do things. And we're not going to change it. And even though we had meetings and I talked to the supervisors about it, I basically was dismissed. They acted as if they cared about my opinion, but I could tell they didn't really give a fuck. So I'm kind of peeved about how everything went. And I talked to another girl who I worked with at the same job that I got back in 2018, and she told me that she really wanted to work with kids with special needs, and she expressed it to the supervisor that we both had, and she basically did not care, and she subsequently was fired because she apparently did not care about the kids, and she didn't look out for the kids, and she didn't pay attention to them, which I felt was exaggerated, just in my opinion, because from what I've observed, this girl was pretty much the only one in the room. She would usually sit in a chair and watch these kids, and if a kid needed her, she would basically give them what they needed, and kids seemed to like her. So I just felt as if they just wanted to get rid of her just because she was quiet and she didn't really fuck with anybody. And with myself, I get it because I don't really talk to a lot of people. And the reason I don't talk a lot is because I need to fill people out. I need to know if somebody is a good person or not, if they are someone to vibe with. If they are not someone to vibe with, I just don't bother with them. But I don't want people to get the wrong idea of me, so I'm usually just kept to myself, because then I don't have to worry about someone being ableist. I don't have to worry about someone being racist or sexist or judging me because of my unpredictable personality, where I may not talk a lot in real life, but once you get to know me, I don't stop talking. I just talk too much around close friends and family. But I already felt as if the people at this job, when I got the job, they weren't really feeling me, and most of the people that I worked with were still in high school, and some were freshmen in college. They were pretty young, and I was 24 at the time. I'm 25 now, but most people were maybe 17 to 19. The oldest people were 21, and I was the oldest, so someone thought I was 26, and I said, no, baby, I'm 24. I'm not that old. And I really wasn't interested in being best friends with them for this particular reason, because they were still in high school. But I at least wanted to be friendly with them, because I feel if you work with someone, you have to at least be friendly and cordial and treat people like human beings. You can't make the workplace miserable for everybody. So I did my very best, and I worked at 2 locations. I worked at not a middle school. I worked at, I believe it was an elementary school. Yeah, it was an elementary and middle school. And then I worked at the official site for this organization. And at the elementary school, I got along with some people there, but most people were kind of just like, I'm just going to talk to my friend over there, and I'm not really going to pay attention to the kids. And these were high schoolers. They were more interested in sitting in a circle and talking with their friends and actually watching the kids. So it was mainly me just telling these kids what to do and making sure that they are playing their games, they aren't getting into any trouble, and I'm signing their parents out when they come and pick their kids up. And I'm looking over and I see these group of girls and a couple of guys just talking, and I'm like, okay, like, what is going on here? Like, why am I in one room and there's like 5 people in another? Like, there should be a good ratio. There should be at least 2, 3 to a room. There should not be this many people in one room. And what I noticed was whenever I would try to sit and take a break, like maybe a 5-minute break or so, I was always told to get back to work, or what are you doing? We need you in here. And I said, okay, but what about them that's just over there just talking in a circle? And it got to the point where we called it a cluster, because sometimes co-workers would just stand in the corner and just talk about nothing, just gossip. And I didn't really like that. So I could already tell that I probably wasn't the most popular person at my job, because I was kind of the outcast. I didn't really hang out with anybody. I wasn't invited anyway, so there was really no point in trying to fit in. I just wanted my money, and I wanted to go back to school and do what I needed to do in order to go to grad school and to get my apartment and to move out by 26, which right now doesn't look like it's going to happen, since again, I don't have a fucking job. I haven't even made it past the 6-month mark to even be eligible for an apartment. And that's really irritating for me. But there was a time where I had to leave early, and our supervisor was this tall blonde girl, and she's like the cheerleader type that I dealt with in high school. And I went to a mostly white school, so that's all I've been around was the white kids, and the popular girls were like the white blondes or like this very preppy cheerleading types. So when I was first introduced to her, she just wasn't friendly. I don't know what was it about this girl that had it in for me, but she did not seem friendly. And I would try to be nice to her. I would try to get along with her, because she was supposed to be the site director, and she was being trained once the lady left that she was going to be the site director. For some reason, we just did not see eye to eye. She was nice enough where, okay, I wasn't going to get into it with her. But I already knew that she didn't like me very much, and it was just kind of like, what is your problem? Like, the first day when I saw her, she kind of made a face, and I'm like, oh my fucking God, I don't understand why certain people at this job think that they are better than certain people. And it's always a certain type that feel this way. And most of them were like the blonde white girls. And I feel like the ones that are in charge, the ones that have the most power in these organizations, are like these thin blonde white women, especially in corporate, like these conventionally attractive white women. And I'm not saying that it's every place that's like this, and I'm not trying to put down any women, but the ones that do have that look, sometimes they aren't the nicest. And a lot of times they are very passive aggressive, and they are microaggressive. So I kind of went my separate ways and did my job. And then there was another girl who was her assistant, and I believe she is Asian American. I believe that she's half white and Asian, because her last name is, I believe her last name is Korean. So I knew that she was a woman of color, but I didn't know exactly her race. But her last name is definitely Korean. And I'm pretty much hitting it off with her because I'm thinking, okay, like, a woman of color, she has curly hair, maybe she can relate to the fact that, you know, I'm a little bit different. I don't really look like most of the girls that work here, because most of the girls were either like light-skinned women of color, or ones with like long, like curly natural hair, or they were white. So I kind of was different from how like that makeup was at this particular job location. So I'm hitting it off with her, we're talking, and one day we're talking about how hot it was, and I say, yeah, like I already have a tan. And she looks at me funny and says, well, it's a good thing you're already dark. And I'm like, I was taken aback, because the way she had said it, it was like she looked disgusted at me for even suggesting that I got a tan and that I like getting a tan. Like, well, you're already dark, so you don't need to be any darker. That's what I got. And there are several people at my job that commented on my skin tone, because oftentimes we were outside in the heat. So a lot of people were complaining about their pale skin and wanting to get a tan. And then a couple people would look at me and say, you know, you don't really relate to the issue of being pale and needing a tan. You know, you and your other friend are dark enough. And my other friend is much darker than me. And I'm considered light-skinned to people like her. So we were both placed in a category of black people that were dark to them, because these were very pale white people that were comparing me to them. So I just felt very uncomfortable that they kept focusing on the fact that I was dark, or that I didn't need a tan, and I clearly needed sunscreen, and they kept mentioning like, you don't need a tan. And just so many weird things happened at this job. Like one time when I took my braids out and I decided to put into a style and I parted it, this woman looked at my hair all weird. And my hair, when it's taken out and it's out of braids, it's like very loose, like a 3C pattern. It's a mixture of hair textures that I have. So it's a lot looser than my natural 4C hair. But this woman was looking at it like she didn't know what to say. Okay, now I'm going on now I am going on a tangent. But basically, I did not have the best experience at this job, just because I feel there was a lot of workplace bullying going on, a lot of unprofessionalism. I was given so many tasks that I couldn't really do, and I would do the best that I could. And one particular co-worker gave me the task to make phone calls and to ask for donations. So of course I did it, and she gives me a stack, and I'm telling you, this is a big stack. It's like this, right? So in 30 minutes I'm done, because most of the people did not answer, and I left messages, but I got it done really quick because it wasn't a big deal. So afterwards she's like, oh, you got it done, well, here's another stack. You know, 30 minutes later, I'm done again. So she kind of looked annoyed, like, did you even do it? And eventually she's like, okay, whatever, go do something else. So it was like they were trying to kind of overwhelm me, and I feel like they expected me to quit, and I never did quit. They had to fucking force me to fucking quit. And that's the thing. I feel that they wanted me to just tire myself out and just not come back, and they didn't want me to last. And I ended up proving them wrong. So they ended up basically sending me a termination letter, and I was surprised because when I had a meeting with one woman that is the program director of another site, she told me that I was not fired, and I directly asked her if I was terminated because I couldn't even log in onto my username because it said I was locked out. So I called HR, and this HR woman gives me an attitude, and she says, it says you're terminated. I said, what? And she's like, yeah, like the reason why you can't log in is because you're terminated. And like she had just the nastiest attitude about it. So I hung up on her. So I sent a letter to the program director, and she's like, oh, well, call, such and such, and we can have a meeting. And she just sit there this whole entire time. I feel like people do this a lot. When they see me like recording a video, they want to like act like they're like doing something. Anyway, she was rude, and I just did not want to argue with her. The HR lady, of course. So I talked to the program director. She's like, oh, well, why don't you come down to this location and we'll all have a meeting? So I said, okay, I will. So I come, and the other lady I was supposed to meet, and actually she was the one that had interviewed me and hired me in the first place, she didn't show up. So it was just me and the other lady. And she said, so apparently we saw that you were clocked in on certain days and you weren't here. And, we want to know what's going on. I said, well, I didn't work on those days. I don't know how my time got mixed up, but I actually worked at one location all through fall. The only reason why I came to this location was because I preferred working at this location. And this was a location that I worked at in the summer. So I came in for one day, and the lady that was in charge over there, she looked at me funny like, oh, I wasn't expecting you here. I said, well, I mean, you said if you needed help, just come on down. I don't mind getting extra money. And she's like, okay, and walks off. And that's pretty much how it went. So after that, I'm talking to the other woman, and she tells me, yeah, here's your paycheck, and, we got all your hours fixed, and if you want to work for the winter and spring, okay, that's cool. We'll just get everything settled, and, you're good to go. I said, okay, that's fine. And I'm looking forward to the callback because I still wanted to work two jobs. Because it's only a part-time job, so I'll be working one job from 7 to 2:30. Then I would come in the other job around 3 and work until 6. So it's like I was getting extra pay, and I didn't have a problem with that. Well, a couple of days later, I get a letter that says you are officially terminated. But I ignored that because I had asked the program director, was I terminated? What was the termination status about? And she said, oh, well, the reason why it says terminated because, you wanted to work at this site. So we had to take you out of this program. And she made some weird excuse. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. She said that they terminated me temporarily because they took me out of the system and they had to get everything fixed because I was going to work at another location. Okay. But then I get a phone call from a coworker of mine that said that they had said I was stealing money and they had to let me go, and they talked about it to everybody that would listen, their coworkers, the parents, everybody, and laugh about it. And I thought, that's really shady and that's foul for you to basically get rid of me without even having a meeting or letting me know what was going on. That you just basically got rid of me without telling me. You didn't warn me or anything. You just got rid of me. And I called the HR. And she said, well, they said that they no longer needed your service, and they basically never told you that you would be coming back in the spring and summer, and they never opened that door for you. I said, well, that's not what they told me. They told me that I could work in the spring and the summer. And I even mentioned, well, are you the HR? Should you be the one to be fixing this problem? And she was already defensive, like, well, if you're not happy with the outcome, then you can talk to da 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 and try to work things out. So I was so confused, because just how I was treated through the span of working at this job, I just felt as if they did me dirty. They already weren't treating me nice. They already were clicked up. They basically treated me like I was the odd one out. I heard a couple people discussing that I had Asperger's, or, the proper word, autism. And I actually told one coworker that I had autism just because he was pretty cool. So, of course, I'm going to say, hey, like, the reason why I enjoy working with kids, with autism and other disabilities, is because I myself am autistic, and I really want to work with these kids and help them. Basically, I just wanted to give them the support that they need and educate them and help them work in a neurotypical environment, not assimilate, but basically how to handle stressors that involves being around neurotypical people, or being in an environment that may not be autism friendly. And a couple of people I feel already knew that. And I remember when I was in the break room and I was on my phone, this girl was discussing with another guy that some girl that's 24 has Asperger's. So I think I should have reported that to HR as soon as I heard it, but I thought, no, it's not a big deal. I don't want to risk getting fired or creating more tension than there already is, because I really just wanted this job, and I really just wanted to get along with people. I didn't want any problems, and I felt people pretty much threw me under the bus. And it really makes me upset, because I didn't have the best experience at this place when I was a kid, because I had actually went to camp there when I was 11 and 14, and I only went to one particular camp for one season because it was that bad. So I decided to go to another camp, and it was pretty bad there. So I just feel like with this particular place, I still feel that it doesn't really handle diversity as much as they claim to, because most of the people that were fired were Black women. And how I saw them treat disabled employees, especially those that were custodians, I just didn't feel comfortable about that. They claim to be for diversity and to have this great, quote unquote Christian community, and to be about acceptance and positivity, and it's really not. I feel that there was discrimination going on. And I think what makes me really upset is that I talked to one man that I considered a friend, and when I told him about it, he didn't really respond. He didn't really seem to care. So I'm thinking, okay. And then one day I pretty much go off on him for another reason, and I say, I don't even care, like, go back to your racist job. And he's like, well, how dare you call my job racist, because I never experienced any discrimination here, and neither did my coworkers of color. And I wanted so bad to say, okay, well, I don't really care that you, a mixed race man, was treated fairly at this damn job, along with your light-skinned people of color coworkers and one Black man. Okay, I really don't care, because you're not going to tell me a disabled Black woman, what she experienced. And honestly, I don't even know why I even bothered giving him and this fucking place another chance, because I had bad experience with this place as a kid, and I was kind of, the reason why I wanted to work here is because I wanted to be a better support system to the kids than they were to me. And I would explain that to the people I worked with. And what I noticed was that they looked very uncomfortable when I explained to them that I was bullied, that I've been through a lot of bullshit. It's like it made them uncomfortable. And they pretty much ended up doing the same thing that I told them I've been through. You know, they pretty much used the fact that I was already like insecure and going through like my own issues, and pretty much like that's why you don't tell people your trauma anyway or your insecurities, because they end up using that against you. Because I did notice that when I told them about my experience when I was a kid at this location, they didn't look very comfortable, and I feel that they resented the fact that as somebody that was bullied and has a disability, I was here to basically be a better support system than they were to me, and that I was trying to defy their whole culture of treating people. And I honestly feel that was the reason why they got rid of me, was because I did not fit their textbook of just perfect. Why is everyone walking through this way? Because I know there's all types of ways to go through. You fucking idiots. You just want to be in the fucking video. I'm sorry, but anyway, as I was saying, I feel as if they really just resented the fact that I was a black woman that pretty much took charge, and I defied their rules of what they wanted this perfect, happy-go-lucky youth leader to look like. And another thing is, there was some demoralization as well. I remember when I was given the task to watch these group of girls, I watched them for a week and a half because I was told by this woman that if they don't like you or if you don't like them, then we have to basically switch your group. But we got along pretty well, so I was able to keep my group after the 1 week mark. Well, on Wednesday, when I came back from my dental appointment, she switched me from being a group leader to working, you know, as a break person, giving people breaks and not being able to take a break until I gave everyone else their breaks. So it was like, you wanted me to do these tasks that were not that important. You did not want me to be like at the forefront of being a leader. And I remember when we had to do our mood boards and I explained to them my interests. I told them my name is Kara. I went to this college. I'm from here. I like to read. I like to write. I am an aspiring author. I like coffee. I put a lot of interesting things about myself. Well, finally, when the mood board was made, it only said, my name is Kara. I only worked here for 4 months and I went to this school. And that was it. But everybody else got interesting facts about them and they're made to be cool and awesome. But I was just kind of like, yeah, it's Kara. And I noticed that they were really trying to undermine my abilities, because I even said one of my goals is to be a better leader and to take initiative. But every time I would try, they would kind of like, you know, I don't really think it's for you. You know, you need to have better time management. And her excuse for switching me from group leader to a break person was the fact that I kept taking too many days off, which was not true. If I took days off, it was to go to school because I had school, and it was also for doctor appointments. And she knew this, and I would tell her ahead of time. And I didn't take any more days off than somebody else. And it was like she didn't really have a reason to just switch me, and I kept pressing her, and she finally said, okay, well, we'll see how it goes, okay, you know. And it made me mad because I'm doing well with these girls, and it's already difficult to be watching 10 girls, 10 older girls at that, and I'm trying to be a leader. I'm trying to build myself up, because growing up I didn't always have that leader position. You know, I was always seen as lazy. I was always seen as somebody that couldn't do anything for herself or others. And I was really trying to better myself. And you kind of just took that away from me. And I didn't like that. and you made up some excuse about how they didn't like me or how they didn't get along with me, and it just wasn't cool. But you know, that's all I have to say for now. I'll talk about my other job later, but I already said too much anyway, and I don't even think I said anything. But I hope everybody has a great day. Bye.